Hi, I'm Lee. Welcome to my channel. I've just returned from a 7-night Virgin Voyage on Valiant Lady 2.0, sailing around Spain, Italy and France. It was my third Virgin Voyage in 3 years, having sailed on Resilient Lady in 2024 and then Scarlet Lady last year in 2025. It's fair to say I'm a fan of what Virgin offer. However, these are the 5 things that I think Virgin should implement to make their voyages even better. So let's get into it.
Cruise the world and sail away with me.
So let's start right at the very beginning, which I think there's a song in that somewhere. Let's start at the very start of the cruise, Embarcation. Virgin Embarcation starts later than most other cruise lines, often around 2 p.m. for a standard cabin guest. And it's too late. Let me be very clear on that. It's too late. Most other cruise lines allow you to embark at the earliest opportunity. If I think back to the cruise that I did with Celebrity at the start of the year on the Equinox, I think our embarkation slot was 10:30 in the morning. So we got a full day on the ship. A full day, almost. And I don't really understand why Virgin insist on having embarkation so late. Yes, the cabins are available from the minute you board. And yes, you can stay on the ship a bit later at the end of the cruise. But other cruise lines allow you to board early, dump any bags that you may have with you in your cabin whilst they're getting prepared, and then you get full access to your cabin later in the day. And as for the late disembarkation, I don't really care about that. I'm one of those people where at the end of the cruise, at the end of the holiday, it's over, get me off the boat, get me on the plane, get me home. I don't see the value in staying on the ship for an extra hour till 9 a.m. I would sooner value that time more on embarkation day, so you get the full day to enjoy the ship and all the facilities and amenities that are on board. And plus, for Virgin, the sooner they get people on board, the sooner they start spending money. And it's for that reason I don't understand why embarkation is so late. Number 2, let's talk about the ship design. All 4 lady ships are really striking. When you see them, you know that it's a Virgin ship. When you step on a Virgin ship for the first time, well, certainly for me, and my breath was taken away at just how stunning they are. Everywhere you look, there is something that is vying for your attention. They really are a feast for the eyes, and that's partly the problem. The ships are very inward focused on their aesthetic. Now, I love seeing the ocean, I love seeing the sea, and that's why up to date I've only ever stayed in a balcony cabin, because I love seeing the sea and the ocean. However, with the Virgin ships, there's very few opportunities in the public spaces where you get a good view of the ocean. Yes, you've got the dock and you've got the areas around Deck 7. Most of Deck 7 is taken up by the lifeboats, and the dock, yes, you can see the ocean from the dock. Yes, you've got fantastic views of the wake. But really, that's it when you walk around the rest of the ship. Even on the higher decks, on decks 15, 16 and 17, where you've got the pool, the athletic club and the perch, most of the line of sights are facing inwards to the ship. Virgin have addressed this slightly on Brilliant Lady and Valiant Lady 2.0. They've changed all the seating at the athletic club and the day beds, so they no longer face inwards, they face outwards. They've got glass and perspex, so you can see incredible views of the sea and the ocean. And it makes such a difference when you're on board that you get that connection to the sea. I'd love it if on the next Virgin ship they brought in something like the Sky Observation Lounge that is on the Celebrity ships, Equinox and Silhouette, where you just get fantastic vistas out at the front of the ship in a really nice lounge bar, and you get to really enjoy being at sea. I would love that. I would really love it. Sticking with the ship design theme, let's talk about the pools. The pools are not fit for purpose. And that was really evident while I was on Valiant Lady 2.0. The pools just weren't big enough for a warm climate sailing. Italy, Spain and France this year have had exceptional heat, but that meant the pool areas just got so busy. And quite quickly, because it's essentially a plunge pool as the main pool, the water would look really dirty and quite cloudy and would quickly get a film of sun lotions and cream on top of it, and it's just not appealing at that point to get into it. And the second pool at the gym and tonic bar, again, got really busy, and the hot tubs quickly got really full. So if you wanted to cool down, you're really limited on where you can do that, because the pool, yes, it looks good on Instagram, but it's not really good for actually cooling down whilst you are in a hot climate. And that brings me to my solution. The net is a gimmick. Again, it's for Instagram. It looks great, but anybody that has ever sat, stood, or lay on the net knows it is incredibly uncomfortable. It's nothing more than a gimmick. It's a waste of space at the athletic club, and that would be a perfect spot, in my opinion anyway, to put in another pool. Just think what it would be like to have an infinity pool in that space, looking out at the wake of the back of the ship. It would look incredible. Installing a pool where the net currently is would free up the space around the main pool so that it becomes more functional, more useful, and it becomes a place where you can actually swim rather than just stand around and get your ankles wet. I asked ChatGPT to design me a picture of what a pool in this space could look like, and look at this. How awesome and incredible would that look? That would quickly become my favourite spot on the ship. Come on, Virgin, get rid of the net, give us another pool in that space. It would look incredible. That brings me to number 3. I would love to see more variety and more longer sailings within the itineraries that Virgin offer. Currently, most of their sailings are around 7 days, which is fine. I said at the end of the last Virgin Voyage on Valiant Lady that the cruise had felt hectic. It's felt more hectic and more, hectic is the word I'm going to go with. And that's a great word to describe it, because it was just a busy ship. I don't really feel like I got to fully explore and enjoy what Valiant Lady had to offer. And it might be because I'm comparing it to the cruise that I did at the start of the year with Celebrity, which was 15 nights, where we fully got to relax into the rhythm of a longer cruise. When we were on Scarlet Lady last year, that was a repositioning cruise. We went from Miami to Barcelona, and again, we got to fully experience and immerse ourselves within what Scarlet Lady had to offer. There was no pressure around not getting into a particular venue. There was no pressure about maybe not getting to see a certain show, because we were on for such a long time that we got to try each venue multiple times. We got to try different things within each venue on each menu to make sure that we fully got to really enjoy what Scarlet Lady had to offer. And I think if Virgin introduced more longer sailings, it would take away some of that pressure and hecticness to make sure that you did everything, rather than having to cram everything in. So come on, Virgin, give us some more longer sailings, because I know for one, I would love it. And I'm sure there are other people out there that would also relish a longer sailing on a Virgin voyage. And number 4, let's talk about Gun Bae. Gun Bae is the Korean barbecue that is on every ship, and it's probably one of my favourite places to eat. However, I've only had food in there twice. That was on Scarlet Lady last year and on our most recent sailing on Valiant Lady. We didn't do it on Resilient Lady because the idea of having to have a shared dining experience with lots of strangers didn't really appeal to me. However, when we were on Scarlet Lady for so long, we thought, let's give it a try. We might like it, we might not. And we were so glad that we did it. The couples that we got sat with at dinner were so lovely, and it ended up being a really lovely meal. And then when we were on Valiant Lady recently with our family, again, it was a great experience. However, it is quite an intense experience. I would love it if there was an option to have more of just a dine function, without the games, without the faff, without the pomp, without all the ceremony. Yes, that is a great part of it, but also the food in Gun Bae is fantastic. It's really lovely. And I would love it if there was an option to have just the Gun Bae food in a quieter, more intimate setting with the person that I was travelling with. I can't be the only person that thinks that. It is an experience that you can only do once per cruise, in my opinion. To give people the option of having the Gun Bae food without all of the other stuff, I think would be received really well. Now number 5, which is probably the most important one, and quite frankly, it's shocking, disappointing, and an abomination that this isn't available already. Okay, I might be being dramatic. Let's talk about Lick Me Till Ice Cream, which is the ice cream parlour on board every ship. You can't get sprinkles with your ice cream. You can't get sprinkles with your ice cream. Now, I can't be the only person on the planet who thinks that you can't have ice cream without sprinkles, but Virgin clearly think that's not a thing, However, the pro tip would be that if you do want sprinkles, all you have to do is take your cup or cone of ice cream to the social club just around the corner and you can get sprinkles. What would you like to see change on Virgin ships? Do you agree with my suggestions? Do you disagree with my suggestions? Do you think I'm talking absolute nonsense? Whatever you think, hit like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment below. But until next time, see you soon.